Well, hello everybody. How you guys doing? It's a new one we're doing today is Flux Kontext. Just came out a few days ago, and actually only like a day or two after I did the live stream about me trying to emulate Flux Kontext because they didn't release the non API, which is what these ones are. And I was like, you know what? It's so crazy how fast that came out. And now everything I was doing was kind of obsolete. I realized too when I did that live stream, and you know, maybe you guys check it out a little bit. It's maybe a little long. I don't know. I was hanging out with a few people from subscribers who watch the channel. I appreciate the hanging out with me in the live chat while we were just fooling around trying to see if we could emulate this. But I think in the process of doing that, I actually discovered something that actually could be used in this. I haphazardly came up with a solution. Maybe that's a better way of saying it. And it deals with this thing right here called Flux Kontext Image Scale. So let's just jump right into talking about the Flux Kontext thing. So I'm gonna do the broken down, I guess, version of this. And well, I guess that, I don't know if that's the best way to say it. When I say broken down, I mean the not already grouped together version of this, because they have a version of this where it basically groups all these nodes together so you don't see the real things that are making it happen, which is I'm gonna talk about right now. What they used on this was this one, because it's Composite core, because this is all native, right? The image stitch allows you to take two images, put them together, and then create a new image based upon that. This Flux image scale, which is what it loops into, it's a setting based upon this, the diffusion model they have, that it works the best with. So it's making its own calculations about what's the best thing for it. And this one's kind of, I don't know if this is really necessary. It's for the negative prompt. It's as it says, conditioning 0 out. My assumption is that it's just making it null, like it doesn't make it do anything, which to me is, I don't know if that's necessarily needed if you don't put anything in it. I mean, you could just minimize this window and there's nothing in it anyways. But that being said, the major points to making this thing work are based upon this, and you have to, because of the way this is done, you would have to take the VAE encode through here, and the pixels come out through here. VAE come out through here, you guys know this part. Same Flux VAE that we all know. We're gonna put this on the decode side here, samples out here like this. So you don't really need this. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do an alternative to this that was based upon what we did in the live stream. And the reason why is because one of the issues that I think some people keep talking about, that I've seen from others who started like really messing around with Flux Kontext, is that you can't really choose the image size the way you want to all the time. And it becomes like a hassle of like trying to make it in the specifics that you want to, like all these other settings or whatever. I just thought about something that might be interesting to do based upon what I did in the live stream. And that's why we're just gonna go over that. Now I'm not saying like it's the only way to do it or it's the best way to do it. It's just a way to do it. It's a way to think about this differently. So this reference latent is very important to this. Without this, you're not gonna have a thing where it looks, your model is looking back at the latent images that you put together via this, even though we're not gonna use this. But again, this is the standard way. So since we're not gonna use it, we're just gonna get rid of this for right now. What we're gonna use is the image composite. Yes, this one, the essentials one. And I'm gonna use the resize. Now I know some of you say this too, like that I'm using the deprecated node for this, and it is true, but I haven't had a reason to not use this. And the only real reason I do use this a lot of times is because I love using the get image size thing, because it saves me from having to type it in myself a lot. But in this particular case, I'm gonna have to type it in either way. But I haven't had a reason to actually use the newer one, because it doesn't do anything extra that I would need it to do. So until then, I just keep using this one. But anyways, let's just continue on. I'm gonna use image composite instead of the stitch, because the stitch image thing really is working the same way as like concatenate. It just adds another image next to the other image, whether it's on the right or left, top or bottom. And I just don't really appreciate that for some reason, just because again it expands the image based upon the dimensions of that is what you're gonna get. But what if you don't want that? And this gives you a little bit more predictability on what you can get in an easier way. So this is still going to be based upon image. So we're going to do, again, load image. We're going to do our source image, load image. This guy always starts off first for some reason. I think it might be just the name, because like it starts with number 1. Let's choose. Oh yeah, we're going to use her again. And let's see what else we got here. This is from the model training thing for that character. Oh, you know what? Let's use this guy again. So this might seem a bit awkward. And this is another reason why I like using the image composite, because it's like the dimensions of this are close, but not exactly. This one's bigger than this one is. So let's swap this then. Let's make this the destination. This is the source. So the destination is the thing is going to be in the background, basically. This is going to sit on top, and we're going to mask this off. So what we need to do is a remove background, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually put this into this image and just cut out this background. So the best way this really works, if you have a clean background, it works a lot easier than if you don't. And we can mask this off, put the image source through here. Let's choose white, and the mask goes through here. Now there is going to be a complication in this, and you will see it in a moment. I'm just going to show what I mean really quick. This is the composite and preview image. We're just going to do it that way. Now, it did put the image inside of it with exactly what we wanted, but the problem, of course, is this. They're not necessarily in the right place. We can try to scoot her over with this thing right here and move it around. And it's based upon the limitations of the edge of this image. Keep in mind, when we're moving it, it does take into account even this white part that we can't see. So the limit is based upon that. It's the limit from which you can actually keep pushing it over. So that's the limit for the X. And then we can go with the limit for the Y. We can just push it down. The reason why I'm doing this is because we want to be able to see the character's face, right? The other character, because it still needs that. What we're gonna do is turn this into, you know, a latent image, and it needs to know what this other character looks like. And if we have it covered up, we can't do that. But also, how do we want them in the image in the first place too? That's what we could think about. I think she's like a doll or something like that. I don't know. Let's do that. Like one of those, what do you call those things? Where they talk through them. Oh my God, what is it? I can't remember these things. It's not a marionette. It's, even though that might be cool too, actually. Maybe we should make them a marionette doll. I was thinking about the hand puppet thing or whatever. But anyways, we can take this resize node, right? And actually, yeah, we already have this because it's right here. We can take this resize node, and before we put it through here, and this is the source one, we resize it so that way they can fit into the image better. We put on the source. So this is 343 and 744. You know what? I'm gonna get my calculator out. Do this thing on here. What we want to do is I want to take like 1.5, not half specifically, but let's say 744 divided by 1.5 is 496. So this is one thing I wish you could have this kind of like, there might be a node out here that does this, but I don't know. But be able to like just take the, like I want 1.5 of this and it just does the division automatically, but who cares? I don't think it's that big of a deal, but I just don't like having to type in these numbers myself. Because 228, all right, this is 0.6, but you know, we're just gonna go with the, so what this also is gonna do is like, it might mess with this too much and cause an error. Oh no, it did. It fits. Okay, so we can still move it around because the XY is different now because the image is smaller. But you can see we can kind of move it around a little bit. Make sure we get the important things noticeable. All right, so we have a base of these two things together. So now the image stitch thing is not really a factor because we're not stitching. It's now one image. This is one image. So now we're just telling you how we want to alter this image via the reference latent to get what we really want now. And that's the cool part. But we need to do this. We need to not pull it from there. We need to pull it from here. That's what we need to do. So let's just get this confusion out of the way. All our loading models and all that kind of stuff we normally do, put that back here. We still need our clip text. We're going to use a dual clip loader. Same thing we normally use for Flux. Nothing really different. If you've seen the basic Flux workflow and how to build that, we're not doing anything different really. Only thing that's different is the model here, the Flux Kontext model. But the way we build it out is basically the same, with the exception of adding the reference latent to this. And the stuff, oh, I guess you could say over here. I guess you could say that's different. So I don't know what the best way to stack all this to make it clean. Take this down to 1. We're gonna make it simple just because I like it that way. And one of the things to notice about this, I'm just gonna run it because we always like to do the run without a prompt. And the main reason I do this is because it lets you know what everything in the nodes are doing and how it actually influences it even without a prompt. I think that's really important to know just because you know the impact and the importance of prompting in general. And if you even use the image stitch version, I advise you do that, because what you're gonna find out about using this Flux context and reference thing is that without the prompt, it really doesn't do anything. You're just gonna get exactly the same thing down here. The prompt is like the biggest priority, I think, when it comes to this setup. Keep that in mind. No matter whether you're using this version that I'm building here or you're doing the other one, it's if you run it without a prompt, it does nothing. But if you do other types of workflows with a different model than this, not using the reference latent, and I'm gonna let you guys know something. This reference latent thing doesn't just work for this Flux model. I've actually even tested it on Chroma too. There's a lot of interesting things about this. But at any rate, the whole thing is that it's mostly based upon what you're telling it to do with what it sees. So it's almost like that clip vision thing is kind of built into this thing, in the sense that it's searching the image to see what's going on, and you talking about it will dictate what it's going to do. So let's talk about that. What do we want to do with this? So let me bring it closer to me. So we want to place the young Asian woman wearing a leather jacket, striped cuffs with a star on it, and tight leather pants. Now notice that I'm not talking about color, and the reason why is because I know in the end I don't want it to have color, but I don't think it matters too much right now because it still might keep the color on there. Place the young Asian woman with short hair wearing a leather jacket with striped cuffs with a star on it and tight leather pants in the lap of the man with a top hat. I don't know why I'm capitalizing that, but I always like to. And wearing a tuxedo and masquerade mask, sitting on a stool. There is a white cloud in the background. Okay, place the young Asian woman with short hair wearing a leather jacket with striped cuffs with a star on it and tight leather pants in the lap of the man with a top hat wearing a tuxedo and masquerade mask, sitting on a stool. There is a white cloud in the background. Okay, let's go with that. See how much it understands. Because it's more like instructions. That's what I realized about this. Tell the thing what you want it to do to what you're seeing. If you don't tell it what to do, it probably is not going to understand you the way you want it to. That's probably the most important part of really understanding how Flux Kontext works. So it did it, but it alters some things too. All right, maybe it thinks the whole. Maybe can you say eye mask? I don't even. Is that a thing? But it definitely referenced everything, so you can tell that. Maybe the resolution is too small. We might need to upscale this. The main thing that I'm really worried about is actually not the scaling part. Is mostly just I want it to do it as I say I want it to happen, right? And don't venture too far off. But you can see this actually works, and that one really altered it. It does work to some degree. Again, I did not mention any of the color, so it's not necessarily taking that into account, but it's keeping all the other parts together. But the references part is there. The thing that I think about the most about how this works is how much does it stay true to the original characters? And that is usually the issue of what all of these reference things is, and how do we get them to stay as true as possible. I think some of it's description, but most of it, you know, is just how the thing works. Because as you can see, this face doesn't look like this face, or that face right there for that matter. I do think there's ways of dealing with that. This is probably the closest one, but again, it's really like choppy, I guess you could say. But at least I think I got it to like just take the eye mask for what it is. Now, of course, the coolest thing about this though is that you can continue from where you are, from the result of what you get, like this one. No, do I need to say black eye mask? Jeez. You know, I do need to say that. Maybe dark, because again, what I'm gonna try to do next is turn this whole thing, despite the fact that it has color, I want to alter it and make it, you know, into a vintage photo. And I probably could do it within the text here, but I want to show the feature that Kontext has that some of you are probably already aware of to alter the last image. So let's say we use this, which I think is a little, yeah, it's pretty good. Oh, we should have put that as fixed, huh? Let's take this, drop it into here, and then say fixed, so that way we can get that same output. Let's go, boom. All right. What we want to do is take the result of what we have and then tell Flux Kontext again, like, well, I like all of this, but now take what you have and turn that into a vintage photo, which is going to be in black and white and no color. So how do we do that, right? Well, let's think about it step by step. The first thing to think about, we want this to be the image that we're referencing, not the thing before it. See, the reference latent here was this image. We want it now to reference this one. So how do we do that? Let's just take this right here, clone it. Always think about your goal first. So we want this, and really, we probably could just pull it from here, right? Because this is the latent image of this, rather than re-encode it through here and then come back out again. So now we need a new set of conditioning. Clip text encode. Gonna pull from the same spot right there. You know what we didn't do? We didn't put flux guidance in here. That probably could have improved it actually, but we're gonna stick with this for now. I'll go back and see what it does when we put in flux guidance, but we're just gonna stick with this for now and go through here. Model, it's the same one as before. Latent image, this one right here. Remember, we want this one. We don't want the one back here. Different one. Positive's already connected. Negative doesn't matter, so we'll just go back to the zero out thing. We got a new latent image. Decode. The VAE. Same one as always. Oh my god, we gotta go back here. Boom. And I always do preview image for the demos. I probably shouldn't do that all the time. I should probably save a lot of this stuff, but some of these are actually pretty cool. Simple. All right. Now we just tell it what we want to do that's different from this. We want this. Make the image in the style of a 1880s black and white vintage photo. Maybe I should say recreate. I don't know, maybe recreate is maybe a better word than make the image. Boom. Now we got this thing. Just altering this one into the style of an 1880s vintage style photo. And you can keep doing that over and over and over and over again. It's like limitless to how much you can build this out. Now, this probably would look really ugly after a while of continuously doing this, but this is why in the version that they call it the advanced version or something like that, the Comfy UI native thing that they offer, what they do is a different way of this or a different version of this, but they just take this, which I also ironically or I don't even know if the word is irony, but I talked about this in the live stream at the very end, and it's crazy that they actually released it doing the same thing where they converted this to a group node and just, you know, the second pass, I'm just gonna call it that, second pass edit, where they just turned it into a group node like this, so it's not as ugly to look at, and it does exactly the same thing, but by doing this, and then let's say you wanted to edit this again, guess what? Just clone this. Let's say you don't have to keep doing this over and over again, and then just keep feeding everything else into this. And you want the latent from here, so you don't want to have to do this via encode, because then you have to pull this twice, right? It's just decreasing the amount of steps. So what you want to do is you go into here, manage group node, and then you want to adjust your outputs, because you see this is visible. The clip is visible on the input side, latent, all that stuff. So the K sampler, not the inputs, but the outputs of the K sampler, which will be the latent, you want to make that visible. Save that. And now you can see you can pull out the latent from here and then just take this into these. Still can pull the negative probably, that's not that far away, but as far as the other parts like the VAE, the clip, and the model, it's if you just really just don't want to keep having to reconnect stuff. And I could have done this in the beginning, but again, sometimes I don't like to use nodes like this because not everybody's aware of those connection points. But put your VAE into anything 1. This is anything everywhere 3, so you can connect up to 3 different types of things in here. And boom, now you see the little things light up. So it's like a Wi-Fi radio transmission or something like that to get them to do that. And you can just keep adding them in and adding them in like this, rather than doing it the other way, having to pull every single line into this next node or set of nodes to make it keep working. It's so many different ways and techniques of doing this kind of stuff, but I really just wanted to show you what it is they're doing and how it's done, because that's what this channel's about. It's about the alchemy, not just about already pre-made stuff. Well, that's it, guys. That's the tutorial. I hope you guys have a great day. This will be cleaned up and I will offer this in the Patreon, this workflow for free. Link will be in the description. I'll show you where to get the model. Look at that. Now it's vintage. Hope you guys enjoyed the tutorial, and I hope you guys have a great day as I finish out this final iteration of this. Be sure to let me know in the comments what you guys want to see. Thanks for watching.